The Sugar Act was passed by the British Parliament on April 5th, 1764. While the Act, also known as the Molasses Act or the Original Revenue Act, was a replacement for a similar piece of legislation that was about to expire, the new Sugar Act was created in an effort to raise funds to help cover some of the costs of the British involvement in the French and Indian War. While the Sugar Act of 1764 imposed a reduced rate of tax on molasses, moving it from 6 pence down to 3 pence per gallon, the British government took significant lengths to ensure that the collection of the tax would be strictly enforced. The reality was also that the list of taxable items was expanded well beyond sugar. Specifically, it went to wines and cloth and coffee, tropical foods and silk were now subject to importation duties. The upfolding of and enforcement of this act caused significant and immediate economic hardship for the New England colony of Massachusetts and the middle colonies, which were Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, and Delaware. As a result, the Sugar Act and the economies of these colonies slowed significantly, and this had an impact on the flow of currency as people who were uncertain about their economic future tried to save their money. Efforts were made to settle debts with paper money rather than gold and silver, and the imposition of this tax seemed to signal an end to what was called salutary neglect, which we'll talk about another time. And instead, the imposition on the colonies was met with protest and complaint. One example being the publishing of James Otis's pamphlet entitled The Rights of the Colonists Asserted and Proved. One historical interpretation of the Sugar Act by the historian Howell H. Gwynne highlights how, as far as the colonists were concerned, there were three major issues that they had with the Sugar Act. First, there are objections to the continued attempt to provide a monopoly that would benefit West Indies sugar planters at the expense of rum distillers in New England. Second, that the colonists objected to the mechanisms of enforcement which they believed violated the English common law's principle of trial by jury. And finally, doubt was expressed about the Parliament's right to levy taxes upon people who were not represented. The notion of no taxation without representation was now to become a catch cry for the next decade as revolution loomed.